Today I am gonna talk about some important tips in PhD, and these tips are not only helpful during PhD. These are also very helpful before the start of PhD and after finishing master. And even these tips are also helpful during master studies. But when a student is nearly finishing master and he or she has plans to do PhD, so there are some important tips and that should be considered carefully. So when I was starting a PhD, at that time I was unaware of all these tips, and if I know these steps before, these steps will be very helpful. And what I think now is that maybe in PhD I can perform more betterly than I have done so far. So what are those tips? First of all, when a student is in master and during master studies, he or she is entrusted to do good research work so in future. So the most important thing is that the students should be very good in literature review, how to review the literature, and that in the literature how can pick out and can pinpoint the research gap in the literature. For example, if you are reading a research paper, and in that research paper there will be some very important points in that research paper. Otherwise, if there is no important points, that research paper should not be published. And another thing that I wanna talk about is for the students, that whenever you are reviewing and you are reading a research paper, so before downloading the research paper, think about the title. And another most important thing is that before downloading the paper and before reading the paper, first of all, look about the impact factor of the journal. If you are reading a paper which is a very low impact factor, then there will be not that much strong points. And another is that in that paper you will find very small research gap. And when you are reading a paper of high impact factor journal, at least about 10 about 10 impact factor journal, so there you will find many good points, many strong points about your research area. And another is that in that you will also find research gap, and at the closing of that paper there will be mentioned that what's the future directions of this research. So the future direction means those are very important points about which you can plan that, oh, this research done is done this, and this research is so far here, and this is the future direction, and I'm gonna start from here, and will it will lead me to that point. You can say some expected future outcomes. So and I'm coming back to the main point is that in research area, the most important thing in research is literature review. That you are very good in literature review, so the research area and good in that research area and literature review, that's very important. Another thing is, if a student is only doing experimental work, so only, I think these days only paper experimental work is also not enough, although it's enough if you are very good in experimental part. But if you have some extra skills with the experiments, like how you can synthesize the material, that's very good. You are very good in synthesis. After that, you are very good in characterization of materials of your samples. like in biological sciences will be different tools for characterization, and in material science will be different, in physics will be different, as well as in chemistry will be different. But synthesis, very good in synthesis and very good in characterization. These are very important tips. And besides this, like when you are doing synthesis, so in synthesis should not be very good in only in one technique, because when you finish PhD or when you finish master, so in the future lab and in the future research group that you are looking for to join, maybe they are not using exactly that only single technique in you which you are very good, so can be little bit changed. So you should at least be flexible in learning different techniques, and even in learning different characterization tools, not like just pinpoint I can do this but I can't do that. No, that's not helpful. You should, even if not expert, so it's okay, and everything is not possible to be expert, but at least you have the flavor of that synthesis method, as well as you have a little bit knowledge of the equipment, that okay, I'm not very good in this equipment, but in using this tool or this equipment, but I know about it a little bit about theory, and I will improve about it and will study about it more and more. This is very good. And with the good synthesis techniques, with good characterization techniques like command on the tools, another very important thing is, I think these days, is that you have some command on simulation tools, like some modeling techniques, some simulation tools. Like for example, I also don't know too much about simulations, but like these days I'm learning, and up to good extent I have now a good command on learning, and as well as I have improved very good in learning COMSOL multiphysics. So like in COMSOL multiphysics, how you can design the material, how you can do modeling, and how you can apply different conditions on the materials, and how you can take out the expected outcomes of that material. That's the simulation job. And in simulation, you first getting the predicted results and the expected outcomes, and then in experimental section you are trying to verify those. So what I'm trying to say is that if someone has good command on synthesis, very good. If someone is good in characterization, very good. And if someone is also good in simulation tools, maybe in C++, maybe in R, maybe in coding, and maybe very good in COMSOL multiphysics. So the theoretical, the simulation techniques that they are, if it's good, that's very good. It's very, very helpful. And why I'm saying like this, because these days in good journals, in like impact factor 10 and above, the good paper can only be published when you have in that paper some experimental good techniques, as well as you have also done its simulation part. And I just remember is that if someone have good command in has good command in DFT, like density functional theory, that's also very important. And so I'm gonna summarize is that, like, what are the tips that someone should improve before starting PhD and during PhD, that will help you very, very much. And number one is very good command and literature review, and in that literature, like finding out the research gap, that like where I will start and which will be my expected destination. That's very important. Another thing is that you have good command on synthesis, different synthesis methods, not just only one technique. And number third, you have good command on characterization tools, like in my case, scanning electron microscope, transmission electron microscope, XPS, AFM, and different names in biology will be different, and in physics will be different. I don't know too much about that. And number four, the last point is, if you have some good command on characterization, simulation work, that like you can do modeling and can do some coding, like in console multiphysics, are using DFT, density functional theory. There are other simulation techniques. I don't know too much about that. So if someone has good command on that, so all these things will help you very, very much, because these tools are very important. There are some other tips that should the students not ignore during master and in PhD, but all explanation of all of them in one video is not possible. So hopefully in next video we'll talk about this more in detail. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.